Fine. Okay, but can you hear me? I can hear you. ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ನಿಮ್ದು camera ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಕೆಳಗೆ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ right. Fine. Okay. ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಏನೋ ಮೊಬೈಲ್ ಸಮೀಪ ಕಾಣುತ್ತೆ ಅದು ಡಿಸ್ಟರ್ಬೆನ್ಸ್ ಕಾಣ್ತದೆ ನೋಡ್ಲಿ. Okay, ನಾನು ಮೊಬೈಲ್ ಆಫ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ, ವಾಟ್ಸ್ಆಪ್ ಆಫ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ ನಾನು. ಮೊಬೈಲ್. Okay, can you hear me? So can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, Sujit.
Okay.
Good evening.
Oh, hi, I'm okay. Okay, I'll be on mute for a while. Thank you.
Sudhir, can you hear me?
Yes. Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me okay?
Okay. Voice is clear.
Okay.
Your voice is clear. And just share me the first slide of your this presentation.
All right. So, okay, I need to get your myself to my headset. Just a minute. Yeah, let me just change the settings.
Right.
Okay. So I can hear you.
All right, Sudhir, you can share the screen, the first slide only.
Yeah. I'm
That's the best.
now.
Cutting down only one slide could be a challenge.
True. Window. All right. So let me see if you can see my presentation.
Yeah. It is.
Yeah.
Yes. Fine.
All right. Okay. Wonderful.
Okay, fine. Now you mute everything from your side. We will have formalities of our function. After that, I do invite you for the session. Then you begin with your this one. Okay.
Okay. Perfect. Sounds good.
Okay, fine. Malar, very good morning.
Very good morning, sir.
Hey, good morning.
Okay.
Good morning, sir.
Okay. We expect you to be there throughout our sessions.
Do you still see my screen?
Yeah. It is visible now.
Yeah.
Okay. Wonderful.
Making
I just
a slide.
switched,
Making a slide mode, na?
Yeah, I did actually. I just turned to another window, so I'll be back when everybody's available. Yeah.
Yeah, it's there. It's there now. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Fine.
I just have to switch the window when I have to mute myself. That's when you see, the entire presentation. But
Malari, just now I shared you the YouTube link. So the same thing you can communicate it to your friends and relatives. And even Sudhir, for you also I have shared it since.
Okay.
Yeah, I received it. Thank you.
Okay. The same thing you can share it to your relatives and friends, so that let them join the session through that particular link.
Okay. So you guys are streaming live in YouTube in a way. Okay.
Right.
Got it.
Okay, fine. Within 2 minutes, I'm going to begin with the sessions. First of all, let me go through some formalities of our function. And after that, I do invite you for the talk. Okay?
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, fine. Okay.
8:29, 5 minutes.
A very good morning to everyone. I am Ashoda Patil, Assistant Professor of Computer Science Department, BLDA's Commerce, BHS Arts and TGP Science College, Jamkhandi, and I welcome you to today's international webinar series on Disruptive Technology and Social Innovations, hosted by Department of Computer Science and BCA, BLDA's Commerce, BHS Arts and TGP Science College, Jamkhandi, in collaboration with Jagdamba Arts and Science College, Itnandi. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar. Before starting with the program, I request all the participants to follow the following instructions strictly. First one, before joining this session, please mute your audio as well as the video. Second one, go for join option, not for the presentation. If you don't see the PPT or display, please pin on resource person's ID. If you have any doubt regarding the session, please type it in the chat box. Please follow these instructions. And in the first session, we are presenting disruptive technology presented by Mr. Sudhir Mamdapur, Vice President, Credit Suisse, New York, USA. And in the second session, we are presenting social innovations presented by Mr. Malari Kulkarni, Director, Dell Technology, Bangalore. So now I request Professor B.K. Galgali, sir, for welcome speech. Sir, please.
A very good morning to one and all. A very good morning to one and all. I feel it's my proud privilege to welcome all the dignitaries to this unique moment of our department. First of all, I would like to extend my warm welcome to the chief patrons of today's event, Dr. M.B. Patil, ex-minister and president of our BLD Association, Vijaypur of Karnataka State. Next, I would like to welcome Devanand Chauhan, MLA and president of Jagdamba Arts and Science College, Hitnadi. I also welcome Dr. R.V. Kulkarni, Chief Administrative Officer of BLD Association. I extend my warm welcome to Professor S.H. Lagli, Administrative Officer, BLD Association, Jamkhandi Wing, who is our source of inspiration. Now, I would like to welcome our beloved principal, Professor B.I. Karlati, and also Professor A.S. Patil, the principal of Jagdamba Arts and Science College, Hitnadi. Now, I take an opportunity to welcome our today's eminent resource persons of our webinar, Mr. Sudhir Mamdapur, Vice President, Credit Suisse, New York, USA, and Malari Kulkarni, Director, Dell Technologies, Bangalore, India, for being with us, and we are eagerly waiting to listen to their thoughts. Now, I extend my warm welcome to our UGC Paramarsha team, Professor R.H. Bidri, Professor M.C. Karbari, and Professor S.B. Kamuti, who motivated us to organize such an event. I also welcome Professor S.V. Munji, IQAC Coordinator of Jagdamba Arts and Science College, Hitnadi, for being with us. I also welcome all my colleagues, organizing team members to this unique day activity. I extend my warm welcome to all the delegates and student friends for this webinar series. Lastly, once again, I extend hearty welcome to one and all present in this webinar series. With this, let me conclude my welcome speech. Thank you one and all.
Thank you, sir. Next, I would like to request Professor B.I. Karlati, sir, principal of our college, for inaugural speech. Sir, please.
Good morning to all the dignitaries. I'm very much happy to inaugurate the today's webinar series on disruptive technology and social innovations. I congratulate our computer science and DCA department for changing such a meaningful and innovative topics. As all of know us, the technology plays a vital role in everybody's life, especially this COVID-19 pandemic period has taught us the importance of the technology. Without taking much of your time, I expect you all to take the better use of today's webinar. With this, let me conclude my speech and thank you one and all.
Thank you, sir. It's time for guest introduction. I call Mr. V.N. Tupchi, sir, to introduce the first resource person, Mr. Sudhir Mamdapur.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's a great pleasure for me to introduce our speaker, Sudhir Mamdapur, who is going to talk about disruptive technology. He's a seasoned IT professional with over 20 years of experience in training, development, project, and software testing management. He currently works for Credit Suisse, New York, and lives in New Jersey with his wife and only a daughter. Sudhir has extensive experience in managing large, mission critical, regulatory and security projects with globally distributed teams. His test management experience includes setting up on-site teams across India, America, and Europe, testing operations through centers of excellence, test planning and strategy, test automation, load and performance testing, transformation to DevOps implementation, monitoring and control, project portfolio planning and budgeting, agile testing project management, vendor management including outsourcing and contract management. In his spare time, he spends time volunteering for local communities and youth development. His hobbies are reading, traveling, playing sports, and singing. On a final note, he is also a passionate individual and we are grateful for his presence among us today. Without further ado, please join me in welcoming Mr. Sudhir Mamdapur. Thank you one and all.
Thank you, sir. Now I hand over session to Mr. Sudhir Mamdapur, sir. Sir, please.
Thank you for the warm welcome and introduction, Ms. Yashoda, Mr. Galgali, Mr. Tupchi, and I forget the name of one of the gentlemen. I'm very glad to be here. It's a privilege to be presenting and talking to you all today. A very good morning to you all, first of all. And I'm really privileged to be amongst all of you this morning. So we have quite a packed agenda today, so I'll try to be as brief as possible. At the same time, my intention is to make sure I'm able to convey some of the emerging or disruptive technologies. I personally don't like the term disruptive. It has a negative connotation sometimes, but in this context, when we say disruptive, it means revolutionary. Okay, so what we are going to review today are the revolutionary technologies that are transforming the world the way we live today, especially amongst the pandemic we are all living in. So what we are going to cover today are basically 4 disruptive technologies that I believe are already transforming the world in a better way, and they are gaining momentum as we speak. So we're going to cover artificial intelligence. You must have heard about AI, blockchain technology, Internet of Things, virtual reality, or as we call VR or AR, augmented reality. What are the skills required, to be working on these technologies, and how to go about career planning, right? So you must all be curious to know, okay, now that these are emerging or disruptive technologies that are very hot in the market, how do we go about planning your career? Okay, so like I mentioned, we are going to cover 4 main technologies today. One is artificial intelligence, blockchain technology, Internet of Things, IoT, virtual reality and augmented reality, VR and AR. Okay, so let's jump to the first one, artificial intelligence. Now, before I move on, I hope you're all able to hear me okay again. I just want to make sure. If you can just chat, that would be great. All right, okay, perfect. I got one thing. All right, so let's cover artificial intelligence. What is AI? You must have heard about. So there are a lot of buzzwords, a lot of terminologies that are thrown our way, which sometimes may be confusing. There is too much of innovation happening in the market. So you must all be wondering, what is actually AI? So we're going to cover some basic definitions of what is AI. AI is simply, is any system that is able to perform tasks that traditionally require human intelligence. So anything that we do, cognitively, because of our ability to think and perform certain actions, it's the same action that's performed by a system or a computer, a program, an algorithm. So that's what is, called AI at a very broad level. Now, you must have also heard about the term called machine learning. Okay, what is machine learning all about? It's basically about learning from the past to predict future. Okay, machine learning is all about data, collecting more and more data, working on.
So sorry, Sudhir, are you sharing any presentation?
Oh, you're not seeing any presentation?
No, sorry.
Sorry, I thought I was sharing a presentation. It's showing as sharing. Okay, let me share again. Sorry about that. Okay, let me know if you can see it now.
Yeah, we can see it now.
Oh, okay. Maybe it got lost because of other speakers. Okay, can all see the presentation, yeah?
Yeah, yes.
Yeah, okay. All right, sorry about that glitch. Okay, so just to quickly move to the 4 technologies that I talked about. So let's talk about artificial intelligence. So AI, as I mentioned, is any system that's able to perform tasks that traditionally require human intelligence. Again, knowingly or unknowingly, we all have been using these technologies. We'll go through some examples and use cases where it'll probably bring it to life, as to how we have been using or how these are actually available in the market today for all of us to consume. So machine learning is anything that learns, is an algorithm that actually learns from the past to predict future. So again, as I was mentioning, there is too much of data that's generated on a daily basis. So there is a lot to learn from the data. It's all about learning from, okay, the patterns as we speak. So what is data, you may ask actually? So what kind of data do we generate on a daily basis? We have so much of access now to internet, mobile phones, laptops, tablets, wearables, gadgets. All of these actually generate data in some or the other form. So machine learning is all about gathering that data, understanding how that data, what that data can provide us to predict the future. Okay, and then deep learning. Deep learning is a sophisticated part of machine learning. To put it in simple terms, it's a sophisticated algorithm which is part of machine learning, which is concerned with algorithms inspired by the structure and function of the brain, called artificial neural networks. Again, you must have heard about Google's DeepMind, which is built on deep learning technology. So it's all again part of AI. So if you were to understand the difference between AI, machine learning, and deep learning, you just have to understand that AI is kind of a very broad concept. Machine learning is part of AI, and deep learning is part of machine learning. So just to kind of simplify as to what these terminologies are. Now, so what's the benefit of AI? Okay, AI actually helps us with quick decision making, better decision making. It helps us solve complex problems. It helps us with accuracy, increased accuracy than humans can actually ever take, because there's so much of data to glean through and understand and analyze. What can be done, what are the patterns, how can we predict the future. So all this is actually possible through AI, and then perform high-level computations, which is not possible, by a human without these algorithms. So that, in a nutshell, is what AI is. What I've also done as part of this presentation is I've included a small video so you all can take a look to just quickly understand what AI is all about. So let me play the video, and let me know if you are not able to see the video. I think I'll have to share the screen again. Can you see the window, the new window for video?
No.
All right, so I'll have to share that separately. Sorry, I'll have to move back and forth between these screens, and actually let me do one thing. Share entire screen that way. Okay. Okay, just let me know quickly if you can also hear the audio, please.
No audio, sir.
Sorry, you said there's no audio, right?
No.
Okay. All right. I don't know if I can get the audio to play here. All right, I guess I'll have to skip the video part because there's no point in playing video without the audio part. So, all right. Sorry, we'll come back. I'll share the links anyway. You can probably take a look offline. Take a look at it offline. But the idea was to show you what AI is all about in a video as well. But we will go through use cases. Okay, I hope that's okay, because there's no fun in watching just a video without the audio. So some of the use cases that I was talking about, there are plenty of examples in our day-to-day life that's already happening in the market, where we are already using AI. So media and entertainment, customer services, marketing, sales, chatbot. Chatbot is very common. You probably have used it, for customer service. Whenever you call any company, for example, mobile company, mobile provider like Airtel, or Vodafone, for example, or any other a company like Amazon, for example, what they do first now is route your request through a chatbot. So there is actually an algorithm sitting behind, which is actually answering your basic questions. And if the chatbot is not able to handle some questions, because these are actually evolving as we speak, only then they actually redirect you to a human customer representative, right? And then they'll be able to answer your questions. But basic questions are all answered by the chatbots these days. These are also extensively used in our workplaces. We used to have customer
Sorry
service
to
representative.
interrupt you. I expect you to share your presentation screen.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that again. Okay, I hope you can see the screen now.
That's fine, fine.
Yeah, okay. All right, so as I was explaining an example of the chatbot, so even at our workplaces now, we are using chatbots extensively. Whenever there is an issue with our infrastructure, application, whatever it may be, we are actually first routed to a chatbot. It's actually an algorithm, a program sitting behind, and which will answer all the basic questions. Again, only when a chatbot is not able to answer certain questions is when we are directed to a human representative. Okay, so it's been very commonly used in the market these days. So as you can see, there are various sectors and industries where AI is prevalent today. Some other examples, that you all have seen perhaps is sentiment analysis. So this is very common in the social media world where, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, for example, all these applications, all these, different platforms, social media platforms, they use the mood and, what people post basically. Sometimes we express our happiness, sadness, and, all different moods and, sentiments that we have on social media. The computer algorithms are actually able to glean that information and predict what a person is thinking or what he or she is doing. So it's very powerful technology where it's been possible to analyze the sentiments of the people. YouTube recommendations, you all have seen, we all see so many videos on a day-to-day basis. Same thing when you go to YouTube, there are various videos that are shown on the right hand side. If you see, okay, recommendation as a next, what is the next video coming up. So those are all actually the machine learning examples. Same thing with streaming or music app or Netflix or Amazon Prime Video. Based on our viewing history, what kind of shows or movies we watch, it tells you, okay, this is what you may like, because they know the genre, the kind of movies, actors, perhaps directors that we watch mostly. So computer algorithms are constantly learning what we actually do on a day-to-day basis, based on which various recommendations are made for movies and music, TV shows, etc. Same thing with Amazon or Flipkart. If you have shopped on Amazon, you would have noticed, based on the history of your purchase, it shows, okay, these are the products you may like. So again, it knows based on what you're shopping, what you've shopped in the past, or what you're looking at right now, it suggests you options at the bottom of the screen. It's all, again, part of machine learning technology. So there are so many other examples, we can go on and on. One other example, standard example you may have seen is Gmail. Gmail automatically filters spam emails. It puts in a separate folder altogether. That's actually part of machine learning called natural language processing, NLP. So how it is able to do, again, based on the information, who the email is coming from, what are the kinds of words that are used in the email, what kind of grammar is used in the email. So there are so many factors based on which Gmail is able to determine, okay, if it's a spam email or a genuine valid email coming from a friend, or a marketing advertisement, for example. So it's able to differentiate that. Same thing with OTP. If there is an OTP from an email, now it has gotten so advanced. Whenever I receive an OTP, for example, from a bank, and if I'm using my mobile phone to to access my bank account, and I also have Gmail on my mobile phone, it tells, okay, this is the OTP you may need actually to enter into your bank account, to get to the next state. So there's so many things. You may have seen appointments in the emails. Whenever you receive an invite for any meeting, any party, function. It's just in the email, the appointment itself, the invite, the calendar invite is in the email, but machine learning algorithms are able to already tell you in your calendar, remind you actually on that particular day, okay, you have a meeting coming up or you have a function coming up. So this is all, part of the machine learning that we are all using on a day-to-day basis. Okay, so let's move to the second one. Second disruptive technology is blockchain. This probably you haven't heard much. It's actually widely used, but not not a situation where it's available for consumers actually widely. But blockchain is actually, sometimes it is referred to as distributed ledger technology or DLT. It makes a history of any digital asset unalterable and transparent through the use of decentralization and cryptographic hashing. So how it works is, think of blockchain as simple block. Okay, so let's say we transact in a bank, for example. So what we do when we transact money, for example, there is an intermediary bank, which is bank, because we need, it's all about trust when we transact with people. So banks are the ones whom we trust, and we say, okay, I have an account in a particular bank, you also have an account in a particular bank, and if I have to pay you, then I pay through my account from my bank to your account from the same or another bank. So banks are acting as intermediaries, and we're just exchanging money through these banks. So blockchain technology, so that's kind of centralized. If you think about it, banking system, you can say it's kind of centralized, where they hold our accounts and we trust the banks and we are all exchanging money through the bank. Whereas blockchain technology is the opposite, whereas it's all decentralized. So each transaction, if I have to pay you some money, you can think of that as one block. That block will have the address of the previous transaction, which is called actually a hash. In computer terms, you always have heard about hashing. So hash is a previous block's hash is actually used to know, okay, where the previous transaction was, where it is coming from, my address, my hash, and what the transaction details are, who I am paying, how much I am paying, and so forth. So these blocks are actually linked together, and that's what is actually blockchain technology. So as you can see here, a transaction is requested, transaction is broadcasted to peer-to-peer network. So there is no central system as such here. So if there are 100 people in a network, in a blockchain technology network, for example, each of them will have all the 100 blocks. So I'll have 100 blocks, the other person that I'm transacting with will also have 100 blocks, meaning each of us will have information about all these 100 transactions, and they're all linked together, which is actually a blockchain technology. Now, the reason it's not taken off in a big way yet actually is because there are very high computing requirements, energy requirements, because each computer, each node that actually holds all these blocks has to process a lot of these transactions. There's a lot of computation involved. The algorithms are very sophisticated, complicated. So a lot of computation is required to enable this technology. So it's being used in a limited fashion, but it's very powerful. It offers a very secure way of transacting. And there are various use cases of this too. Now, for example, in the health industry, blockchain technology is actually being used to transport, medicine, for example. So right from the, it's used mainly for traceability. Right from right from the time when medicine is manufactured, when it is transported to wholesaler to a pharmacist or a pharmacy, and the pharmacy to actual end user, which is a patient, for example. So this blockchain technology is used all the way from the manufacturing, or from the manufacturer to the patient, to see how it is actually transported, and if it is traced, transported to the right person, to make sure that the medicine that's given to the patient is not fake or counterfeit. So a very powerful technology for traceability in health industry. Same thing for voting. Again, this is being explored. I don't think it's actually used anywhere, but there is definitely a very strong use case to make sure this is used for voting. So same thing, I as a voter will have an identity which is actually registered in a block, and then this is actually traceable all the way until I actually vote. So when the voting system allows me to vote, it knows that it's the right person with the right credentials that are actually voting. So there's no ballot required, nothing. It's all digitally done through blockchain technology. So there's a very strong use case that's being worked on. One other example is tax processing of GST. We all pay GST for any transactions, that we do, any materials or products we buy. Same thing, right from the time a transaction is made, whenever I purchase something, until the GST is actually paid to the government. So it's all traceable, and it's an authentic transaction. So there's no room for any alteration or manipulation of the data or transaction. So that's another strong example of a blockchain. One other example is land registry. We all purchase sites, buildings, plots, etc. So this technology again can be used there, where right from the time the land is purchased, so my credentials, the land, this is in regard to the land itself. So land will have a block containing the information about the size, the area, location, all of that information. And right from the time it's actually sold until a purchaser who is actually buying it, who that person is. So all that information can be linked through a blockchain technology. And same thing, when I again sell it back to someone, there is that link between my block when I purchased to the new buyer now. So all that transaction is very secure. It's all digitally done, and there is really no room for any manipulation or data alteration. So that's the second technology, blockchain technology, which you probably again haven't seen much being used as a consumer, right? But it's very much prevalent in the market today. Okay, again, there's a video which unfortunately I will not be able to play because audio is not working. We'll move to the other one. So we talked about some of the use cases. As you can see, it's being used in manufacturing, automotive, mobility industry, public sector, energy, telecom. It's everywhere actually. Okay, let's move to the third one, which is IoT. I'm sure you've heard about this term, and I'm sure most of you, if not all of you, are using this again on a day-to-day basis. Internet of Things, or IoT simply. Now, IoT is a technology where it's all about sensors and devices that talk to each other. It's in simple terms, that's what it is. It's actually all about sensors and devices connected by internet. It could be Wi-Fi technology, it could be cell phone technology, any kind of connectivity between two devices, and they talk to each other. Now, so the beauty about IoT is it could be any device, it could be anybody who is actually transmitting or sending data to another device anywhere. It could be anywhere in the world. Actually, you could be transmitting data from my device to, like, say, any part of the world actually, where there is a server available. It's all through cloud. Any business, again, we'll talk about some examples and use cases where actually it's being used. Any network, like I mentioned, as long as there is some kind of connectivity, Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, internet, it can work on any of these technologies, and anytime. That's the beauty about this. Now we are going to skip a video again. So some examples here, right? So to talk about some of the examples, you probably all have some kind of smart devices. So whenever you hear the word smart, right, smart device like smartwatch, that is nothing but IoT. So I am wearing, for example, one, Apple Watch, or you have Android smartwatches. So what it does is it basically has a sensor within in the watch, and there are different sensors. So for example, Apple recently came up with being able to monitor the heart rate, right? It also detects the fall detection. which is very useful for old age people. If they fall, or for anyone for that matter, if someone happens to fall down, it detects that you actually have fallen down, and it actually calls the ambulance, like the 911 service as we call in the US, but the emergency services basically. It's able to place a call and call for an ambulance without you actually doing anything, right? It also has blood oxygen sensor. It detects the blood oxygen level. So if you are, exercising, or if you are really at a very high altitude, climbing a mountain or something, and if your blood oxygen happens to be low, really, it actually gives you warning. So there are so many benefits of these IoT devices, where a lot of things are readily available to you. So that's just on the health benefits of smartwatch. The other example is a thermostat. So we use thermostats at home because there is it's too hot in summers and too cold in winters. So the temperature is adjusted automatically. So Nest thermostat, the company is called Nest, N-E-S-T. You probably have heard about it. It's now part of Google. So what Nest thermostat does is, it's a smart device. It's able to detect if you're home, for example. If you're home, then you can set temperature range. It's all configurable, and when you're home, it's maintains a temperature within certain range, right? Let's say 25 to 35 degrees centigrade, for example. When you're not home, it is also able to detect, because it's basically about motion. So if you're not moving around, that means it knows that there's no one home. Then the temperature should be lowered. It doesn't have to maintain the temperature. Again, you can set that what should be the minimum, maximum, and all of that. So it's able to do that. So it's a great way to kind of be efficient, save the energy, save cost, a lot of benefits. And the other beauty is, you can operate all these devices through a mobile phone, because there is an app for all of these features, and you can control how you want to do things, how much of what should be the minimum temperature, maximum temperature, and all of that. So it's really very convenient. Home appliances. Now every refrigerator, every washing machine, every dishwasher, right, that we use has a sensor of some sort, actually. So it's a smart device. Again, you're able to control all of these through your mobile phone. There is an app. You can, sitting in your bedroom, or even if you're outside, as long as you have loaded the clothes in a washing machine, for example, you can turn it on automatically remotely. You don't have to be home. You can just turn it on automatically, and it'll, by the time you come back, your clothes are already washed. Same thing with refrigerator. Refrigerators have become so smart these days. It's actually able to detect if you're running out of milk, for example, or if you're running out of vegetables, because it knows based on, it takes images, actually, the pictures. There are different technologies, but one example is, looking at the image, right, and saying, okay, if your container is actually empty, and then you can say, when the container is empty, you can place the order automatically. You can place order with Amazon, for example, or Reliance, for example, and say, okay, I need 1 kg of so and so vegetable, for example, right? Same thing, milk cartons. So it's able to detect the level of milk, and then you can place order for milk. So these are really the devices that are getting really smart because of IoT, and it's all happening, whether you're home or not home at all. Same thing with lights, for example. So lights are all smart devices now. So you can turn on and off all these lights remotely. Again, there's an app, and you can say, okay, you want to turn on the light between 8 and 10 p.m. So you can set it, and it turns on during that time. Or you can say, okay, whenever motion sensor lights, I mean, you all have seen, that's a different technology. But you can control all these TVs, for example, lights, your music system. Okay, you can control through apps, which is again done through all IoT. Self-driving cars, one other example, great example, or autonomous cars, as you may have heard. That also implements, in addition to AI, it also implements IoT. So it's able, now the self-driving cars are able to communicate between the cars. So there's no need to use satellite images, for example, or satellite technology. They're able to communicate to each other and, detect the distance, for example, right? So the car, if you're driving behind one other vehicle, it's able to detect, how far you're from that vehicle and then communicate. So for example, if you're stuck in a, really high traffic, and you can actually communicate, your car can communicate to other cars behind you and say, okay, there is heavy traffic at so and so junction, and can you maybe you want to take a different route, so this probably is not the route for you now because there is heavy traffic, do something else. So these kind of decisions can be made using IoT technology. All right, so I just want to give one more example. Solar panels. Solar panels, once they're installed, if solar panel goes bad, let's say you have 10 solar panels and one of them goes bad, the company that provides this service or install the solar panel for you is able to know immediately that one of the panels is not working, because that also is sending signals through IoT. It's a smart device as well, and they can come immediately and fix it for you. So you don't have to really do anything to before you realize that you're not generating enough energy because one of the panels is not working. So solar panels have have gone smart now because of IoT. Okay. Now, last but not the least, let's cover the VR part, virtual reality. This technology is something, again, we all have been using on a day-to-day basis. We perhaps don't realize it, but VR is about all simulated environment. Okay, it's all about simulated environment. Unlike traditional user interfaces, that we use on a website or mobile phone, what VR does is it places a user inside the experience. So some of the games you play, or all the games that you play, they are not all of them, but when you wear a device like a sunglass, right? So you may have seen those Google or Oculus, from Facebook these days. Those are all the devices that help you actually use VR technology. So I don't know if you have used it. I wish I had brought that. I have one where it's just like a sunglass, that you wear, and then you can insert a cell phone and you can play games. And it basically places you as a user inside a simulated environment. For example, you could be in a jungle amongst the dinosaurs, and you could be navigating through the jungle. The jungle itself is simulated environment. It's all virtual, but you're placing yourself there as if you're moving around. So you can, navigate through that. So some of the games, Xbox and PS3, PS4 from Sony, they all offer this VR technology. It's amazing technology to use. You must have also heard about a term called augmented reality. Now, this is an experience where you're actually placing virtual objects into a real environment. Okay, so we'll go through some examples. You'll understand better. But this is actually combining. You're in a real environment, and you're just trying to augment it with some other. You're layering it with a virtual object. Okay, so that's what augmented reality is. And then there's also a term called MR, or it's called mixed reality, which uses both AR and VR in a way. And then that's kind of mixed reality. So just to show that difference, I drew this where you can see this on one hand side you have real environment, the other side you have virtual environment. And if you're using augmented reality with real environment and augmented reality with virtual environment, that becomes mixed reality. So some of the applications, it's actually heavily used in education sector these days, where they're able to create powerful training videos to place a user, to place a student in a virtual environment if necessary, or in a real environment, augment it with, the virtual objects to educate students. Okay, so let's look at some of the use cases. The first one, you probably have seen this, where let's say you, I mean, this is very prevalent today, especially given the pandemic we are living in, where you want to visit a store, for example, and you cannot go obviously because this coronavirus everywhere. But there are apps available for you to visit a store or visit Paris, for example. Let's say if you want to visit Paris, there's actually VR available where you can actually use a VR, and like I mentioned before, the game example, same thing, you're actually able to place yourself and feel as if you're walking through streets in Paris. That's the beauty about VR. So that's one example. The AR example, augmented reality. Let's say I have this room, and if I want to say, okay, how if I bought a new sofa, for example, how would it look like in my room, given this wall color, given this floor, given the curtains, of certain color, how would my new sofa look like? So I can place it, I can augment that sofa, which I haven't bought it, by the way. This AR helps me to place that sofa in my room and see how it may look, how it will look like actually if I were to buy that sofa. That's the power of augmented reality. Okay, the one other example of augmented reality, you probably have used it more. We all use Messenger, I would imagine, from Facebook, and you may have seen your own picture or video, right, when you're chatting, and you can place those funny objects like on your nose. You can put a hat, crown, all of that. So as you can see in the pictures, that's augmented reality for you. You're actually a real person. You're augmenting or supplementing your look with all these objects that are provided by the AR software. So that's augmented reality. One other example, this is a great application here, where let's say I'm walking in New York, okay, and then I'm new to this place and I don't know, okay, where is what? Okay, I'm really hungry, or I want coffee. I want to know, okay, how far do I have to walk now before I get my coffee? So I can use this AR application, for example, and just hold on the street. I just focus on the street. This AR application is able to detect all the amenities that are around me in that area. So you can see in the picture, it's showing within 7 miles. Actually, this is all miles. This is just an example here. Within 7 miles, I will probably get something to eat, for example, right? And then there's a coffee shop within 16 miles, 37 miles, and there's a Wi-Fi connectivity. I can get Wi-Fi in probably a store or somewhere, which is sorry, this is actually minutes, not miles. 16 minutes, right? And there is a hotel. If I wanted to check in, if I wanted to get some rest, there's a hotel within 10 minutes. So, and there's a bank, within 3 minutes of distance from where I'm standing. So that's the beauty about augmented reality. So you're actually standing on a street, and then that's real environment for you, and it's augmenting you with additional information based on which you can know what's actually available around you. And this is the example I was giving. So it's my room here, and I want to buy a new chair. I like this chair, I like the color, but I want to see, okay, how it looks. So given the the room behind mobile phone is real, the object that I'm augmenting is actually a chair, new chair. So I can see how it actually looks, how it will actually look in my room. Okay, so Mr. Gargali, I hope we are doing fine with respect to time. I just have 2 more slides to go through. Hello, can you all still hear me?
Yeah, Sudhir, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Yeah, okay. All right, just a minute. Okay, so now you must be wondering, okay, all these technologies are happening as we speak, and they are really hot topics these days. Anywhere you go, what are the kind of skills required, to be able to work on these technologies? So talking about AI first, what you need is domain expertise. By domain, I mean business, or whatever problem you're trying to solve. For example, if you're in the healthcare industry, you really have to understand what healthcare industry is all about. If it is about medicine, that I talked about, or if it is about uh, surgeons, for example, how a surgery is conducted. So you have to have the understanding of that particular business or sector to be able to solve problems using AI. Coding or programming skills, very much in demand, right? Things like Python, Java, C, C++, any coding, I would say. But specifically if you're talking about AI, machine learning, there are two very hot languages that are used, mostly Python and R. I don't know if you have heard about a language called R, just R, right? So those are very much in demand these days as far as programming is concerned. And then beauty about this is maths and stats, statistics. uh, for many years, mathematicians, people who are really good at maths, they didn't think there was, no place for them except in some, research requirements. They didn't think there was actually a place for them in, most of the IT jobs. But these days, it's very prevalent. And you must have heard about the term called data science or data scientist. They are all people with maths and statistics background. So if you have a combination of these three skills, you are very much in demand in the market these days. So there's a sweet spot, as you can see, in the center there. A combination of these three actually will, place you better in the market to be working on AI. Moving to blockchain, like anything else, you need programming language background or skills, fundamentals of object-oriented programming, relational databases and flat databases, data structures, in general, the application development and networking, because blockchain is about networking, like peer-to-peer networking that we just reviewed. So a combination of these actually will place you better to work on blockchain technology. IoT. Now there are five main things that are different things that are required for IoT. AI and machine learning everywhere. I give examples of the thermostat, the variables like smartwatch, refrigerator, washing machine, all of these. They all actually use AI and machine learning. And big data. You must have heard about one more buzzword in the market these days: big data. Big data is about varied data, structured and unstructured data, and lots of data, right? So how do you collect? Like I said, we generate so much of data on a daily basis: Facebook, Messenger, WhatsApp, Instagram, our wearable devices like smartwatch. They all generate data. It's all about understanding, how can we manage the data, how can we analyze better. So that's what is all about big data. Big data is about the storage and what you do on top of that data. What kind of information do you analyze? What kind of insights are you able to glean, from that data is all about business intelligence. Networking that we talked about, information security, because you want privacy. You don't want anyone else to be accessing my data. For example, whatever I have on my watch is my personal data. You don't want anyone else to be accessing that data. So there's a lot of requirement around information security and related technologies. And then application design development, which is standard, because you still have to develop application for interface. As small as this is 40 mm watch, for example, there's a 44 mm watch. Just within that small screen, you're able to present so much of information. So that's the beauty about this application design and development, specifically for IoT. I'm referring specific to variables, but washing machine, refrigerators, you have a slightly bigger screen, but there are different UI form factors that you have to consider when you work on different devices. And then last but not the least, VR and AR that we talked about. You first have to be able to produce the content. Like if you're developing a game, what kind of game you have in mind, what's the content, like, how many levels, if you have played different games, how many levels you have, and how many screens do you have, how many characters you have in the game. So it's like writing a story, right? So content producing is all about like writing a story. And then software engineer, again, because it's all about programming algorithms. And then ER and VR content, like I said, being able to place virtual and augmented objects onto your games or whatever content you're producing. Quality assurance, which is all about testing what you're developing or building. And then the overall UI and user experience design. Right, so these are the different skills that actually are required for these 4 different technologies. I just want to leave you with one last thought. Now, given all these technologies, you must be wondering, how do I go about kickstarting my career? How do I actually make sure I am able to stay relevant in the industry, stay relevant, in the market of, with so many emerging and disruptive technologies? So I always tell this to all freshers and people who approach me. So there are 3 things that you should look for. Technical skills, which we went through, right? Programming is just one aspect of it. Business knowledge we talked about. So technical skills, which is what will get you get your foot in the door, if you will. Meaning, that's your minimum criteria to get an entry into any company, right? Your database skills, programming skills, data structures, ability to think, and then write better algorithms. So all that's part of the technical skills. The domain skills, which we already talked about, having that business or sector knowledge about what problem you're trying to solve. If it's healthcare, then you need to have an understanding of healthcare. I'm not saying you should be an expert, because these skills, especially the domain skills, are gained most of the time while you're on the job. Okay, when you get projects and then you understand, you work more on it, and then you tend to get more information and more understanding of what problem you're actually trying to solve in terms of the business aspect of it. But domain skills is very important, and these are generally the people who go on to become the subject matter expertise, as we call SMEs, right? And they are the ones who drive the product strategy and vision and implement the overall product for any organization. Last but not the least, and this is most often ignored, I would say, soft skills, which includes your public speaking skills, communication skills, interpersonal skills. How you're able to work as a team. Are you a good team player? Are you able to lead a team? So all those actually come into picture, and like I mentioned, most often this is actually ignored, and people generally realize this skill, as they gain more and more experience while they are on the job. But for you all, I would say, if you can focus on these 3 areas, technical, domain, and soft skills, that would be a really great step forward. Okay, so with that, I just want to thank you all again for the opportunity. I'm really very glad to be here. I really want to thank my dear friend Mr. Galgali, for having me here and giving this great opportunity. And I hope I was able to convey some of the hot topics in emerging and disruptive technologies that that are happening in the world today. So with that, I'll be happy to take any questions you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Sudhir Mamdapur, sir. We will go ahead and take some time for interaction. Just a reminder to the participants, please be sure to type your queries into the chat box. So we have received some questions from the participants.
Sure, please.
Shiva Bagewadi asked, what is difference between AI and ML?
Yeah, so AI is like a broad area of, AI is artificial intelligence, which actually comprises of machine learning and deep learning. AI is like I mentioned, machine learning is about algorithms that learn based on the data. So there's a lot of data required for you to develop any algorithms. The machine learning algorithms glean insights based on the data that we provide. So if you think about it, AI, you can focus on machine learning, which is what mostly is relevant. I mean, machine learning is part of AI, but you can whenever people talk about AI, they're mostly talking about machine learning, because machine learning algorithms is what makes up the broad concept of AI. Yeah, and deep learning is a sophisticated algorithm, that's part of machine learning.
Thank you, sir. So someone asked, what would you say are the common misconceptions about AI?
Well, that's a great question.
About AI.
Right. No, that's a great question, because oftentimes there is this fear about AI and machine learning replacing human jobs. It's actually not true, because if you think about it, today there is actually scarcity of people with the necessary skills required, in many industries, many sectors. So it's humanly impossible to do what AI can do, in terms of solving complex problems, like I mentioned, solving big computational problems. It's just humanly impossible to be doing all those kind of things, because the amount of data that we generate, like I mentioned, is humongous on a day-to-day basis. So that's one misconception, I would say, that AI is here to replace humans. That's not actually true. And one other misconception is perhaps that AI cannot do everything that a human can do. That's also true. Meaning, there are some jobs where empathy and compassion is required. Like, for example, if you go to hospitals, while AI can do robotic surgery, for example, that's also a use case, by the way, one of the best use cases. Certain hospitals are able to do robotic surgeries, where precision is very important. So robotic surgery is possible. But what AI cannot do is care for the patient like a human person, human can do, right? Caring, sharing, all of that. So those are two misconceptions, I would say.
Thank you, sir. So the next question is, what are the popular platforms for developing blockchain applications? Platforms
Well,
for developing blockchain.
Right. That's a great question. See, there is Bitcoin is one, for example. You probably have heard about Bitcoin, which became very, very famous. That's actually built on distributed ledger technology, or blockchain. That's one. And there are some videos. In fact, the video that I was going to share, which unfortunately could not be played. But if you play that video, you'll find that towards the end, there is a link actually for you to implement blockchain technology. If you wanted to try it out, you can write a simple JavaScript and then see how it actually works. So a lot of these organizations are developing what they call as a private blockchain, meaning every bank, there's still a lot of privacy, data security, all of those are concerns. So everybody's implementing their own blockchain technology, if you will. But the most public one that I can think of that's available to everyone is Bitcoin.
Next session.
Thank you, sir. The last question is, whether it is better to use Arduino or Raspberry Pi to make IoT applications?
I would say both, but you probably are better off using Raspberry. One, because it's easily available. There's a lot of support, a lot of forums available if you come across any problems, and it's very simple to use. I would say try Raspberry. You can build some great devices using that. Yeah, and there's great support actually for that. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. The remaining questions will be sent to, we will send the answers to in your chat box. Thank you, Mr. Sudhir Mamdapur, sir, for providing such a innovative and meaningful information related to disruptive technology. Sir, I expect you also stay with us for the next session. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, I'll certainly be here. Thank you. Thank you again. Thank you for having me.
Now it's time to start the second session. So I call Ms. Srigauri Shironi Madam to introduce our second resource person, Mr. Mallari Kulkarni, sir.
Good morning, everyone. It is an immense pleasure for me to introduce our today's webinar resource person, Mr. Mallari Kulkarni, the Director, Dell Technologies, Bengaluru. He is a seasoned technology leader leading digital transformation with a focus on top line and the bottom line growth, aligning engineering to business goals, bootstrapping new technology products, and scaling teams and organizations around it. He is passionate to transform lives with the technology by leveraging 20 plus years of rich experience of product development, innovation, technology research, project management, and people development. Now he is going to speak about the social innovation. With this, I introduce the eminent personality, Mr. Mallari Kulkarni, to all the audiences. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Now I hand over the next session to Mr. Mallari Kulkarni, sir. So please.
Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me? Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, thanks, Sudhir. Hey, thanks, Sudhir. It was a great presentation, and thank you. First of all, it's a privilege to be here. Thank you for inviting me to share my experience, my thought process on social innovation. Okay. So what I intended to today talk about is, I just wanted to cover what is social innovation and what are the successful social innovations in global, and what is the secret sauce. I mean, if the social innovation has to be successful, what principle should be followed? And I also want to take one or two examples of social innovation success story in India, which we are all using it as in today. And on top of it, what I also wanted to cover was that because of COVID-19, as you all know, the healthcare industry is getting transformed. Okay, and I want to talk about what government is doing to transform this healthcare ecosystem, and what are the new social innovation opportunities in healthcare, which the young minds like you guys, when you go out of the college, if you want to become an entrepreneur, okay, those are the options available to you to explore it. Okay, so that's my agenda today. Okay, and as she already talked about my introduction, so I'm not going to spend time. Yeah. So the more details is available in LinkedIn and Twitter. And I also just wanted to call out that, in fact, my first job started in BLD, Atlati Siddhanagoda Patil College of Commerce in Bijapur. Okay, I joined there and worked for 10 months as a, I was teaching for computer programming language in collaboration with Indian Computing Center. So I'm basically from North Karnataka, Bagalkot, and I have a rich around 20 years of industry experience. I've traveled US, Europe, and Far East. And what I'm passionate about is basically transforming human lives with technology. See, we all develop technologies, but if the technology doesn't enable the human life, basically human progress, okay, there's no meaning of usage of technology. So currently, what I'm doing is I'm working with the Government of India. As you know, you keep hearing Ayushman Bharat everywhere. In the Ayushman Bharat, there are two kinds of programs are there. Okay, one is Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana, where the poor people get benefits of insurance. That is one program. The other program, something called as health and wellness centers, where the government is doing a 1,50,000 health and wellness centers over the country, where they're trying to provide a primary and preventive health care to the poor people. Okay, so that's called a health and wellness centers, which is actively, I think in Karnataka it has been rebranded, it's called Arogya Karnataka. So I'm working with Ministry of Health, developing a software for them to roll out preventive and primary healthcare solutions for non-communicable diseases. Okay, so from last 3 years I've been working on this, and as part of this, what I started realizing is that there's so much opportunities for social innovation, because what the Dell technologies we are doing is, okay, it's basically a CSR initiative, okay, basically to transform the human lives through technology. Okay, that's it. So before I proceed, okay, have you know what is social innovation? Can anyone, can you put your understanding of social innovation in the chat box? Anyone knows what is social innovation? Okay. So I wanted this session to be more interactive. Okay. I'll keep pushing people the questions. So no issues. So there are many definitions for social innovation, but I like one of these definitions from the Francis Wesley's definition. Okay. What Francis says is basically an initiative, a product or a process that profoundly changes beliefs, basic routine, resource, and authority flows of any social system in the direction of greater resilience. The point I wanted to highlight here is that 2 points. When you say profoundly changes beliefs, means it challenges conventional thinking. You are doing something in a certain way, but the moment you find a new way of doing it, that's called innovation. But when it is called social innovation, when the society, the larger society of the ecosystem gets benefits, that's called a social innovation. So when the larger society gets benefit, what happens? That's a large scale impact. Okay, impact and scale comes into picture, and the durability, the longitudinous. Basically, it should be like, it should not happen. The impact is available for only for 2 months, 3 months, and then it disappears. The impact should be for long term, so that society improves. So that way, that's called a social innovation. So does that make sense? So now I want to ask you one question. Can you tell me any social innovation which you feel we are all leveraging it as on today? There are many social innovation from the global, okay, which are highly successful and everyone is using it. Can you name few? Anyone? In the chat box? Any new social innovation which you feel you are using it as on today? Twitter, good one. Facebook, good. Yeah. So if you look at it, Facebook, YouTube, WhatsApp, Instagram, WeChat, TikTok, there are many. Okay, these are all social innovation platforms. Okay, and if you look at their Facebook, it was started basically as a content sharing or just communicating the status. And if you want to understand the Facebook, I would recommend you to go and watch the Social Network movie. Okay, you will understand this Facebook was invented when Mark Zuckerberg was studying in the college. Okay, so the innovation can happen anytime, anywhere, any place. Okay, it doesn't need to happen that after the education only you need to do it. Okay, so that's one thing just I wanted to call out. YouTube, it was basically a platform was built as a content for video sharing. Okay, but today, as of now, for example, as Mr. Basura Gargari said, this is being live streamed on YouTube. Why it has been live streamed? Because for the scale, if you want a high scale, YouTube is a platform people use it for live streaming. WhatsApp, it was developed as a messaging platform today. The use cases are unlimited. Today it is being used even for a customer services. Okay, a lot of, if you look at it, the banks are setting up a chatbot in WhatsApp. So the imagination, you can imagine how the technology has been leveraged, the social innovation technologies. Okay. I also want to talk, so these are all platforms. Okay. When I say platforms, their source code is not available. I also wanted to do some contrast between open source and open platform led social innovation. If you look at Windows, it's a completely open platform. Okay, on Windows there are many applications are there. Okay, I mean Word, Excel, PowerPoint is their own application built on top of the platform. But other than that, printer driver, there are plenty of applications, Notepad, Edit Plus, plenty of applications are there which is built on top of Windows. But however, if you go back to Linux and Androids, they're completely open source project. So the point I want to highlight here is that social innovation is possible in two ways. You can also open source, but without open source also you can build a platform. You can have open platform architecture which can lead to social innovation. You might be heard about virtualization softwares. Okay, virtualization, VMware is a leader in that. Okay, they are not open source all the code base. They are making the money, but they have opened the platform in such a way that there are many softwares or the tools can be built on top of the virtualization platform. But if you want a complete open source solution, there is something like OpenStack and Docker. These are the two other open source solutions which are available in the market. If you go back to database, Oracle is the leading database in terms of open platform, in terms of usage across the world. But whereas like MySQL, MariaDB, PostgreSQL, these are the open source technologies. If you want to talk about messaging software, Apache Kafka is leading as an open source technology, but in the previous word, WebSphere Message Broker was one of the open platform for messaging. If you are using IDE, Eclipse is the open source technology, but Visual Studio is the open platform technology. So the point I wanted to drive was basically is it's possible to innovate social innovation through either open source or open platform. And as you know, GitHub is the leading open source code repository for collaboration. And if you look at it, the number of contribution for Visual Studio Code is 19,000. For Kubernetes, it's 7,000. For Facebook, okay, Facebook invented React Native. Again, on top of that, there are 9,000 contributors are there. So this is more of a, just I wanted to show you that how the number of users are contributing to open source. In fact, I would also recommend, as part of your final year project, I would recommend you to contribute to open source. Okay, that way you will get a real-time experience of mind sharing of with the best of the experts in the world. Okay. So now if you look at it, just I wanted to say that now we covered what is social innovation. We covered what are the global platforms which are highly successful in social innovation. We also looked at it, how open source technology also is leading to social innovation. Because of the Android open source technology, okay, each mobile phones are coming up with their own Android flavor version. Okay, so that is one way of looking at it. So what is the secret sauce of all this open source or open platform led social innovation? Okay, in my mind there are 4 to 5 key principles are there based on my experience. One is open platform. When I say open platform, means it's open platform architecture. So what they have done is basically, in case of any these social innovation projects which are highly successful, whenever they found a problem, they try to unbundle the problem into the multiple levels. Okay, so what I'm trying to say is that whenever you want to solve the problem, you need to solve in a layered architecture problem, layered architecture methodology. So you break the problem into smaller, and try to find out what is the core problem of the issue and solve that issue with an interface such that you can build a solution on top of it. I have one slide which I'm going to talk about how this open platform architecture is used for innovation in the next slide. Next comes is open APIs. Okay. See, whenever you want to solve any problem, the first time, believe me, problem will not be solved. I mean, you may solve the problem, but it may not be solved in a more effective way or efficient way. So whenever, before you solving any problem, okay, of any system, the first step is you should imagine, if you are looking for a social innovation, you should imagine that how my other subsystems are going to interact with this subsystem, and publish the APIs, publish a contract to the external world. Because you never know what the problem you are trying to solve. Someone may be thinking a solution on top of your problem. So the first step in any social innovation is publish your APIs. Once you publish your APIs, provide a sandbox. When I say sandbox, it's basically something called test environment. Let's say Facebook published an open API, and a lot of apps are built on top of Facebook. But if they don't provide a test environment, okay, a sandbox environment, there's no way they can scale. So the second important principle for successful social innovation is open API with a sandbox. Third one is data privacy policy. The moment you talk about social innovation, ultimately it's end of the day, it's the people trying to collaborate on a platform, isn't it? So the larger the user base is, what will happen is the information sharing across users going to be higher and higher. And I'll give you an example. Facebook, which is one of the leading content sharing, okay, currently it's used as a news channel also, modified its data privacy policy after having one of the domestic issue in US about the black and white, one of the case. So they continue to enhance the data privacy policy. What is very important is, in terms of social innovation, is a transparent and open data privacy policy is important, because anyone can share any data. And how do you ensure that? What is the policy you are going to ensure that? How you are going to filter the data? I mean, whether it is objectionable or not. So that privacy policy should be clearly published to become a successful social innovation. The lastly, I mean, it's again open source code. I gave a few examples. Open source code is not a mandatory. Without that also, a successful social innovation also is possible. The fifth one is focus on solving the core problem and leave the innovation to ecosystem. I'll tell you one example. WhatsApp, when they invented, they started thinking that they want to make sure that communicate the message between friends. Okay. Today, it's being used as a customer support channel, as a chatbot. So has anyone visualized at that point in time the use case that this could be leveraged that way? No. So the point I'm trying to say is that if they would wanted to solve all the problem end to end, the innovation will never happen. Okay, so you should always leave the innovation to the ecosystem, other players who can build the system. As I said in the start of the slide, I wanted to do a deep dive on open platform, or basically open architecture. If you look at it, when TCP/IP was invented, or internet was invented in the US military, and then they made it public for innovations along with the GPS. Okay, what is GPS? GPS is ultimately a global positioning system. So basically, it will give you the coordinates of the location where you are. Okay, and now the GPS technology was government invented it, and they said okay, it's available for public. See now how that is the first layer of open architecture. Now how the GPS technology got transitioned and led to multiple layers of innovation and services. Now after the GPS was released to the public, Google Maps came into picture. What Google Maps did is they tried to visualize the complete using GPS technology. They built a map, okay, and they built a from and to direction. So they were able to, using the GPS technology, they started giving a platform or open API approach where you can look at a distance from one location to another location. So that's the innovation. Okay. Now, next innovation came is the smartphone. What the smartphone did is, smartphone started using GPS location and started guiding the driving directions. Okay, saying that if you want to take up from point A to point B, okay, if it's a 10 kilometers is there, what is the fastest way of doing it? Okay, so that's the one more layer of innovation. Okay, the next comes is the payment system. And in today's world, as you look at it, payments, for example, as Sudhir talked about it, IoT devices. Okay, Apple Watch is there. Okay, in India, for example, Titan Watch is doing a cashless payment. Okay, basically contactless payment. So again, so this is one more layer of, so now the payment technology is built on top of as an IoT device, again, extension of an Android operating system. So Android did some kind of innovation. The next level of innovation came from these IoT devices. So the key, if you look at the key observation is again, the layered architecture, solving the problem, the core problem. If government has, let's say, was focusing, trying to solve end-to-end all the problem, will the innovation happen? No. because the innovation can happen from any mind, anywhere, any corner of the world. Okay, so what the key message is, the government technology focus on only solving the GPS or internet, and then they opened it up. So another private player, Google Map, came back, and then they did the innovation on maps. Then they came back is the smartphones, then the payment industry. I want to drive your attention to three important here. Uber is the largest taxi provider in the world, but they don't own one taxi. I mean, in at least based on the history, they don't own the taxi. What they have done is they made the drivers as the taxi owners, and is a revenue sharing model. Airbnb, okay, is the most widely used portal for booking hotels, but they don't own any properties. Amazon, okay, the most widely used for e-commerce, but they don't own the large inventory. Okay, again, it's basically a platform for collaboration, which is leading to a social innovation. So we learned about what are the global social innovation. I wanted to spend next remaining time focusing on what are the social innovation projects happening in India. Okay, and we are all using it as of today. Okay, and I'll do a deep dive of one, and also I'll talk about what are the upcoming social innovation opportunities within India. So if you look at in India, the first social innovation was basically something called as India Stack. Okay, and what India Stack did is basically they built an open architecture in financial technology space. They built a set of APIs and ecosystem to solve a problem towards presence-less, paperless, and cashless service delivery. I'll be spending next slide on top of that. So the another open source social innovation has happened is like a Sunbird. It's a Diksha. See, if you go back to now 4th or 5th standard books, okay, if you look at it, what's happening is in each chapter, there's a QR code, okay. The thought process is that in the rural villages, or basically wherever it is, if you look at it, our population is very high. In some places, there may not be a right faculty or a teacher available to explain the chapters to the students. So what has been happening is they have put a QR code. If you scan that QR code, there's a video available related to that chapter, which will be played in your Android phone devices. So that is a new technology. Basically, it's called Diksha, a platform which holds the repository of all videos for each chapter, and it is seamlessly can be accessed through a simple QR code. So that is another open source technology called as Diksha, which is pretty much widely used. Okay. Another innovation happened is like a Digit. Okay. In many of the urban cities, and in India, like urban cities are growing at rapid scale. Okay. And what is happening is today you have to pay the power bill for, bills for power, for example, water and the gas. What this open source solution is trying to do is they are trying to provide a unified bill for all of their household services. Because end of the day, these are all provided by one of the public sector undertaking, either by state government or central government. Why there should be three bills and three places to go and pay it? Why can't it can be a single bill? So the Digit is an open source platform which is trying to solve an urban citizen centric governance. Okay, so that is, if you want to find out it, I had given the project links. You can go and learn about it. You can also become a contributor for this kind of a social innovation project.
We lost your slide. I think someone was trying to present in the meanwhile. So you have to share it again.
Okay, thanks. Can you see it now?
Yes.
Yeah. So I have given the links for these open source technologies platforms. If you are interested, you can go and contribute there. Okay, learn and contribute. So I want to talk about an example of the first one, India Stack, as I said, the fintech. Okay. So if you look at it, Aadhaar. Okay. What Aadhaar did is, okay, it is introduced a presenceless layer. Okay. What is a presenceless layer? If you wanted to open a, for example, let's take an example of when you wanted to give a get a mobile phone prior to Geo. Okay, what was happening? You need to scan your ID proof, okay, and then give it to the service provider, and there'll be an independent agency, they hire it to validate whether you are residing at a particular residence or not. Because government has a strict regulation, for example, to give any mobile service or any telephone service, so that I mean, for a proper usage, unauthorized people should not use it, like terrorist, anyone should not use it. They make sure that you are the right person who's residing in a right location and trying to use this mobile or telephone service for the right reasons. But Jio onboarded more than up to, I think, 300 million users within a span of a year. Facebook could not onboard so many users within that short span. Why Jio was able to do it? Because the Indian government built an Aadhaar platform which can ensure a presenceless layer. It means you don't need to go a particular boot for authenticating that who you are. Okay, you just put your Aadhaar number and you'll get a OTP, and you enter the OTP, you are proven that you are the right holder. Okay, with a face recognition or your thumbprint. Okay, so because of this, what happened is now there's no manual verification of residence, there's no manual verification of the person, because unless until your finger biometrics are verified, okay, they will not issue a SIM card. So because of this technology, basically using biometric authentication, Jio was able to onboard 300 million users in the fastest way in the world. So this is I would call the first layer of like presenceless layer which India Stack built it, is being leveraged in the country as an example. Okay. The next layer, for example, I want to talk about is a paperless layer. So 2 years back, I applied for a few years back, I applied for a loan to IDFC Bank, and that person came to me. And typically, what happens when you apply for a home loan, you have to provide all the documents. Okay, they take a scan or a Xerox, they take a copy of physical copy, and then they do validation. What the bank did was that they opened their mobile smartphone, they scanned it in front of me, and then they never collected any copies. So that is an example of a paperless layer, how a paperless layer can do it. Now, for example, in education, okay, in fact, the marks cards are getting digitized, getting stored in DigiLocker. Okay, so your all education certificates will be available in the cloud. Okay, you can access it. For example, driving license, that also getting digitized. So you don't need to, in previous world, what was happening was that you need to carry insurance and driving copy when you are driving. Now it's all digital. So basically it's a paperless layer. So that is another layer of technology which is happening in the country. Third one is like a cashless layer. We all use UPI, okay, Unified Payment Interface. Wherever you go to any store, we use it. Why it's able to possible? Because there's a layer which a set of common API has been defined. How do you transfer a money? This is a game-changing electronic payment system which is talked in the world today, as on today, because they are hitting 2 billion transactions per day as on today. So that's a cashless layer. The last one is a consent layer. Okay. So now when you do any transactions, what happens? You get an OTP. That's nothing but your consent. Okay. So to make sure that whatever is happening. So if you observe it again, it's a layered architecture. The first layer was presenceless. Then the second layer was paperless. Third was cashless. And the fourth is a consent layer. So if you build any system with a layered approach, okay, then only the social innovation is possible. Let's take a UPI, because we all use UPI. How many of you use UPI? I believe wherever you go to any grocery store, you may be scanning QR code, isn't it? Are you guys using UPI? Yeah, okay, at least I see yes. Yeah, so in the UPI, if you observe it, there are multiple players are there. Okay, one is payment system provider, like a payer bank and a payee bank. These two players has to exist. But there's another player called NPCI, okay, who owns and operates the unified payment interface. Important thing is when the UPI was published, all the banks started publishing the UPI apps. Okay. And ICICI Bank was publishing their own UPI app. Yes Bank was publishing their own UPI app. But how many banks UPI apps you're going to download and use it? Because if you have 4 API, let's say if you have 4 bank accounts, should you download 4 UPI apps to pay the money? That's not scalable. So what the innovation was done was they introduced something called as third party application provider, TPAP. Okay. I'll explain you the example in the next slide. If you look at it, we all use like Amazon Pay, Google Pay, okay, multiple, okay, yeah, Phone Pay. These are not the banks. They are only a third party application provider. They basically their job is work with a bank and then do a transactions. Now, if you observe it, how the innovation is happening, there's an application called as CoinTab. What they are doing is they are providing a simple app for managing multiple bank accounts. Why this is possible? Because every bank is following the standard UPI interface. When you have a standard interface for bank-to-bank communication using UPI as an interface, then you can have only one app for for multiple bank accounts. That's the one way of making it happen. Another example is you keep hearing an example of credit. Okay, what they have done is, see, typically what was the problem is, for example, if you have multiple bank credit cards, you need to pay from multiple bank accounts. Okay, now this, because bank-to-bank transaction is standardized via UPI, there's a new initiative called CRED. Okay, they say that as long as you register all credit cards here, and I'll try to pay automatically from it could be from any bank account. Again, this is possible because a common UPI interface exists to transact between multiple applications. In India nowadays, in the tolls, you pay through FASTag. Okay. Now again, FASTag is just an app. Okay, it's a service provider. What they are using is, again, they are using a UPI. Whenever you go through anywhere, automatically the money gets deducted from your bank account because UPI interface exists. I'll tell you the reason. The important thing is innovations are happening. Why Google Pay is doing it? Why Amazon Pay is doing it? What they're trying to do is they're trying to concentrate the user base. Okay. The moment you have a large user base, they are creating a new value-added services. Google Pay, for example, what they are trying to do is, if you pay through Google Pay, okay, they give you a coupon code, which basically is nothing but for end user, it's additional benefit. But the Google Pay also is making sure that it's diverting appropriate traffic who are interested to the appropriate merchants. So Google Pay or Amazon Pay, what they're trying to do is they're acting like a glue between an end user and also other side, the merchants. Okay, because of the large user base, they can understand your like I would say purchasing lifestyles, and then give you appropriate offers like cashback offers, or it could be coupons, which can divert the traffic to the appropriate sites. So this is a new innovation. Let's say if the TPAP was not available, third party application provider is not available, I don't think UPI would have been successful, because bank's core business is only banking, transfer the funds and here and there. Because the third party application provider, like the new service provider is introduced in the market, like CRED, CoinTab, Amazon Pay, Google Pay, Phone Pay. So they are trying to innovate on their own by holding a user base, because once you have a user base, you can create a value proposition to the user and also to the additional to the merchants. So that is a new way of innovating, a social innovation. This is a classic social innovation example, how in India, UPI transformed the way how you all pay to someone money and through a third party application provider. So if you look at it, I just wanted to show the UPI growth. The Phone Pay, which holds, I think, 26% of the market share. Google Pay holds 50% of the market share.
Yeah, ma'am, we lost your video again, actually. Someone is trying to share screen.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you. Yeah, Paytm, for example, which was launched during the demonetization as a wallet, their market share is pretty low in the UPI. Okay. See, again, if the company does not adopt to the new innovation, the companies will be lag behind. Okay. Amazon Pay, they started now, but currently the market share of whole UPI is between Phone Pay, Google Pay, and Amazon. Okay. So that's all I guess I wanted to say. This is a classic example of a social innovation, how the financial technology landscape is changing because of Aadhaar and also because of open layer architecture. So I want to talk about what's happening today in the healthcare ecosystem. The reason I want to talk about this, I want to give a background of this slide so that I can provide you a future social innovation opportunities, what is available in the healthcare in the country. Okay. So because of COVID-19, okay, government took an initiative, something called a National Digital Health Mission. Okay. What they're trying to do is, in India, if you look at it, there are so many, just to give you one more background, 80% of the Indian population still uses government hospitals. Okay. That's the reality of the, only the, to be honest, in the metros or in the little bit urban cities, people use private, but government still is a bigger player in the healthcare ecosystem. What government is trying to do is, today, there are so many labs, hospital, clinic exist, but there is no registry. Okay. And let's say if I take a some if let's say if I taken some medicine or if I have gone through surgery, okay, at the young age, let's say for example 10 or 15, and I don't have a records. It's only paper records as on today. So how do you ensure that, let's say at the age of 25, there's another surgery needs to happen to that person? How do you ensure that that record, the doctor access the previous health record? There is nothing. So government is, what the government is trying to do is, it's trying to like UPI, okay, where the cashless layer, like third-party application provider, transform the way the UPI payment industry happened. Similarly, government is trying to build the basic infrastructure, the okay, I would say plumbing blocks, okay, in the healthcare ecosystem. Okay, once they build it, the sky is the limit for innovation. What it's trying to do is that, first of all, it has identified what are the players in the healthcare ecosystem. Beneficiary means like anyone who receives a service. Okay, that is I could be I, or it could be you. Then it's trying to do, there are so many labs and hospital clinics. Okay, build a repository for that. Then they're also trying to do something called a health ID. Okay, so they want to issue a unique health ID to everyone so that you can start using that health ID across wherever you go. And then the moment you start using that health ID, then your electronic health record is tied to that health ID. Okay. The next step is, the bigger risk is the next step is, once your health record is tied to across facilities, across hospital and clinic, how do you ensure that it is protected? Because see, digitization is easy. The moment you digitize it, the information can be accessed much more easily. So now, how do you prevent the misuse and the abuse of the system? Because let's say the pharmaceutical companies gets this kind of information that if a person is suffering from sudden disease, to try out their medicines, they may exploit this system. So that's the reason there should be a checks and balance in the system. So there's something called consent manager. So without anybody consent, health record cannot be accessed. Like for example, without when you are using UPI for payment transaction, without your consent, like basically if you don't provide a OTP, the money doesn't get transferred. Similarly, there's something called consent manager getting built. Without the end user beneficiary consent, no one can access the health record. Okay. So there are other entities like health information user, because health information user means not only the you, because doctor may be asking the information on your behalf. So that it could be hospital, it could be doctors, it could be insurance. Okay. So, and ultimately the beneficiary needs to provide a consent so that the health information user can access information. Similarly, there is the next opportunity is health information provider. See, if you look at it, what is going to happen is this small labs, clinic and hospital, right now they are storing their data in Excel. Okay. Now government is trying to say that if you are a health service provider, okay, you need to follow a standard interface. How the electronic health record data should be. Sorry? How the electronic health record data should be exchanged. Okay. So there's probably now smaller clinics which cannot afford to build their own hospital management system. Okay. A third party software vendor can create a new software and target that segment. Okay. Now there is also no single repository for doctors. In the sense, who are the doctors registered in the country? There are privates are there. Government is trying to say that I'll provide you a registry where all doctors can get registered, even for ENM and ASHA and everything. On top of that, there's an interesting thing is going to happen is because if you look at any human, their movement is always there will be always a movement. Some years they may be in city 1, city 2, or because as part of education you may be going to different cities. As part of your job you may be going to different cities. How do you ensure the health record across, which is stored across different countries or different cities? How do you access it? So there's something called federated personal health record is going to come. So there can be an app which can get the data across different subsystems like different hospitals and provide you the information in a single pane of glass. So other than that, there's something called electronic medical records. So which is the standard. So what the NDHM, the National Digital Health Mission, has published a health architecture is, end of the day, without users' consent, information cannot be accessed by anyone. Even the hospitals or the labs or the clinics, whoever it may be, there has to be a gateway where all these hospital, labs, clinic are registered. And whenever, let's say, for example, a user, okay, has taken some kind of a service in hospital 1, and when the user moves to hospital 2, and user asks the hospital 2 to access the information, it will be done through consent manager. So hospital 2, let's say, ask for information from the hospital 1, the gateway will say that, okay, this needs to be approved by the particular user. So the consent manager will send an SMS to the user. The user will give that OTP to the hospital, and the hospital enters the OTP, and then they will be able to access the information. So this is a beautiful architecture which is being rolled out in the country as we speak. So now what are the opportunities in the social healthcare? Okay. So there are plenty of opportunities. I'll talk about 1 or 2 examples. For example, health ID provider. See, government is provider digital infrastructure itself only. So like government may introduce a license like a third party application provider like TPAP. Okay, similar to, if you look at in the UPI, what they're using is each Amazon Pay and everyone, they're giving a unique ID internally, which is not exposed. If you go to Google Pay, if you look at it, you will see that it is a mobile number at your bank name, because that is your ID internally they are using it, which is mapped to bank account. So like you can have multiple UPI players. Similarly, there can be multiple health ID provider can exist. Okay. So next comes is there can be multiple consent manager. Today, for example, NPCI is the only one which is the clearing house. Tomorrow, in fact, RBI made a policy saying that multiple people can do clearing house. SDFC and Reliance Jio, everyone is trying to enter that space. There can be innovative patient-centric solutions. I'll give one classic example. Let's say if your prescription, let's say typically as in today, what happens? Doctor writes your prescription like medicines on a piece of paper. Assume that this is digitized. Okay. Let's assume that this is digitized, it is kept in the cloud. And when you go to pharmacy, any medical shop, and you try to say that, hey, give me this prescription. Let's say the doctor has prescribed you for 30 days, a medicine 2 times in a day. Now, what happens is, let's say, imagine a scenario. This is a very interesting use case. I wanted to share you guys. The moment it is digitized, okay, and you take the medicine from the medical store. Now the medical store may send you a SMS saying that I want you to communicate to me whether you are taking a medicine, yes or no. Okay. Let's say the patient agrees it. Why the patient should agree? What the medical officers will say, medical companies will say is basically, if you give me the usage and the effects of that medicine, I'll give you 10% discount for next time refill. Okay. So basically it's a gamified solution. So now every day the SMS will come from the pharmacy or a medical shop saying that, have you taken the medicine? Yes or no? If they say yes, for example, let's say for 5 days, they may get 10% discount. Then there may be another question. For example, if you have taken the medicine, have you seen any side effect? Let's see if they respond, whatever it is true. I mean, if it is true, yes or no, the medical company will collect that data and then say that we'll offer you 20% discount. So the kind of innovation can happen is you can unimaginable. Okay, these are a few things which I was able to understand from one of the Boston Consulting report, which I given as a reference link. And because of the data, and government may introduce like something called an anonymized data marketplace. Okay, everything is digitized. What the government can do is they will anonymize the data and put it in the marketplace for research. Because the moment you have a data, you can use machine learning techniques to understand that whenever this medicine is taken, how many of the population have recovered successfully, how many of the population have not recovered successfully. So there are various, the combinations of innovations is unlimited. I just wanted to say that because of once you build a platform with a layered architecture, like as I explained here, that users are different, consent managers are different, health lockers are different, health service providers are different, health information providers are different. This is all layered architecture. The moment layered architecture is there is no single owner. Everyone is restricted to do certain things in that ecosystem. Okay. Because of that, end of the day, who is going to get more benefit? Users. Because who owns the data? The end user, who is health record. So now there will be new opportunities for anyone, new companies who can innovate and build a some kind of a solutions, like which I talked about, gamified solution for prescription compliance. Okay, because if you say you are taking the medicine, okay, then if you look at it, the company is offering you a discount for come back to again to take the medicine next month, and if you need it, that's all. Or they may offer you a discount coupon for other medicines also, which you could use for other your family members. So the innovation opportunities are limitless and endless, which anyone can capture. As a young people, as you are coming out of the college, if you would like to get into entrepreneur mode, these are the social innovation opportunities. You can build it, or you can contribute to the open source solutions, which will enhance your credentials if you are also for a job market. So the conclusion, what I wanted to come to conclusion is, open source will not enable social innovation. Open platform, open API, data privacy policy is must to accelerate social innovation. The way currently the National Digital Health Mission, which is an open platform and an API approach, is radically changing the health delivery landscape and is enabling a new business opportunities for everyone. With that, I would like to move on to the questions.
Thank you, Mr. Malari Kulkarni, sir. We will take some time for interaction. So one question from a participant. What is the biggest challenge for social innovation research?
The biggest challenge is, I'll tell you, identifying a societal problem which is applicable to mass. Okay, once you identify the problem, which is usable, basically can solve mass problems, then the solutions can come. So you need to identify which is the most commonly problem faced by majority of the users. For example, yeah, Facebook see what is happening. WhatsApp, what they thought is, we all keep talking, okay, but we keep talking only one-on-one or in a college in a group. Instead of whatever you're talking, okay, face to face, why can't you communicate it? That's what WhatsApp did it.
Okay, thanks. The next question is, which database Facebook company is using to maintain its content?
I think they have their own proper database technologies. I think they also open source that technology. I forgot that, but I can check and come back.
Okay, so no problem. And someone asked intentions behind development of open source tools.
Pardon? Sorry, what is the intent?
Intentions behind development of open source tools.
Yeah, intention basically, yeah, I think, see, intention, what is the intention is basically simple. See, the fundamental belief is that innovation can happen from anywhere, anywhere, okay? They want to help the society. End of the day, we learn so much from the society and we should give back to society. So many passionate people want to give it back to society so that anyone can enhance it.
Okay. The next question is this possible to make applications to track all diseases like Arogya Setu?
Yes and no. Okay. Why yes? Because see, when you try to make a generalized applications, what will happen is that your ability to solve specific problem becomes limited. Okay. So you can solve the problem to certain extent. For example, generic application is possible, yes, in terms of federated health record, okay, where you can look at all of your total health history and see it in a single pane of glass across multiple facility, like wherever the person has visited across facility. No, in terms of if you are looking for a specialized solution like using artificial intelligence or machine learning technologies, okay, for individual disease. For example, let's say there's a hypertension day, okay, or a diabetes day, okay. On that day, okay, if you want all people to give their sugar and blood count, so that whether the people are diabetic or not, if you want to check on that day, okay. Now generic applications cannot solve this because there's an algorithm is written exclusively to identify whether the person is diabetic or not, or the person is hypertensive or not. So it depends on the use case. Some use cases, a generic application is possible, but specialized use cases, generic application is impossible.
Thank you, sir. The next question is there any specific platform to communicate between teachers and students which can avoid misconceptions and students' misbehavior?
Yeah, see, one way is today's technology. We are all using it, like Zoom. Okay, that is one way of doing it. The other way is, I mean, there are plenty of technologies are there. Depends on the kind of problem. Okay, you could use WhatsApp group also to communicate to students that share the videos. That's one way, or you can build a content repository to do that. In fact, what the innovative, see, one of the fundamental principle is the moment you make any interaction as a gamification, okay, it will lead to better. For example, when the teacher shares any videos, they can come back with immediately a list of questionnaires, okay. Whoever answers the questionnaires, they get a points, and their point should be made visible. So that's again a gamification. Then what will happen is everyone student will try to go through that videos and automatically answer those questions, and everyone would like to be in the top. So that's one way of communicating it. So the fundamental, anything what you want to do is gamification is very important, which will excite anyone and everyone.
Thank you, sir. The last question is, what social problem have you identified and how are you responding to it?
Yeah, I mean, currently I'm working on a social problem only. In today in India, okay, non-communicable disease. If you must be hearing, when I say non-communicable disease, means hypertension, diabetes, oral cancer, breast cancer, cervical cancer. We keep hearing that, hey, that person has a cancer. It is very important that how this cancer can be prevented. Okay, only through education. Okay, at least, I mean, through early detection. So to do early detection, what should happen is, I mean, examination or screening should happen. So we are building a software working with Government of India for the entire country, mainly targeting rural population for screening. So that is one opportunity we are leveraging it. There are plenty of opportunities are there. For example, Digit, which is trying to solve urban citizen-centric governance problems. They want to give one bill for all your household services. So problems are multiple. I mean, it's all now. For example, today one more problem is getting solved. If you people are interested, go back to India Stack, and there is something called the iSpirit channel in YouTube. Okay. Another interesting problem they are trying to solve is, what is happening is, everyone gets a loan today, but the people who gets a loan is who has a better credit system. Okay, let's say a chai wala who's selling a tea on the road. Okay, they don't get a loan, and if what they do is they go and take a like a, what do you say, hand loan, kaigada antarla kannadalli. So hand loan, okay, from local people, and they pay heavy interest. So if you look at the system, what is happening is, the people who are highly educated, who are wealthy, they are getting the lowest interest rate. The people who are not educated, who are not wealthy, who are in need of the loan, they are paying a higher interest rate. So that problem is also being solved through something called OCANE, okay, Open Credit Enablement Network. Basically, the thought process is that loans should not be, I mean, loans can be provided based on your salary, income, and everything. Loans also can be provided based on your cash flow. How much you are selling on that day, based on that also loans can be provided. So that is another interesting problem which is trying to be solved by India Stack and iSpirit. There are plenty of another social problem is like water. Okay, water is not available. What is the scarcity? How do you bring education of water limited resources to the mass like 1 billion population? Okay, and then make sure that water is conserved. That's another problem. So the problems are ample. I mean, it's basically individual passion, what they want to solve, and join appropriate groups. And again, as alone you cannot solve the problem. It's basically group of people or a company or a foundations can solve the problem. I would highly encourage, look for a foundation who is already solving those problems, join them, join the hands. In that aspect, you will learn, and you will also feel satisfied while solving social innovation problems.
Thank you, sir. One more question. Nowadays, many crimes and misuses on social innovations are performing. How to solve them, and what are the precautions to be taken?
Very good question. See, that exactly the data privacy policy comes into picture. Whenever these kind of misuse social innovation, platforms are being used, how do you stop it? Okay. So one way, for example, is if anyone says that this is an objectionable content, okay, should this be deleted or should that not be deleted? So the data privacy policy is very important, that how you are going to censor your content on this platform, and how you are going to ensure that, let's say if the person posts an objectionable content, how do you make sure that that person is blocked in all other social platforms? So now, not only one platform, collaboration platforms also can build a common data privacy policy so that that abuse can be stopped.
Thank you, sir.
So that can be, in fact, called as social currency. Social currency can be positive, it can be negative. Okay. So currency positive means you are doing something good on the social platforms. Negative means you are abusing the system.
Thank you, sir, for providing such advanced and meaningful information related to social innovations. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Once again, I thank Mr. Sudhir Mamdapur sir and Malari Kulkarni sir for such a meaningful information to our participants provided. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Now we are at the final stage. It's time to wind up this webinar. So I call Srimati Purnima Surpur Madam to propose vote of thanks.
Hello everyone, this is Professor Purnima Surpur, Department of Computer Science from BLDA's Commerce, BHS Arts and TGP Science College, Jamkhandi. Now I want to thank for the successful completion of this international webinar series. First, I would like to thank Mr. Sudhir Mamdapur sir, the resource person of today's webinar on disruptive technology on behalf of BLDA's College, Jamkhandi and Jagadamba Arts and Science College, Hitnali. We had a great time with you, sir. Thank you so much. Next, I would like to thank Mr. Malari Kulkarni, sir, the resource person of today's webinar on social innovations on behalf of BLDA's College, Jamkhandi and Jagadamba Arts and Science College, Hitnali. Got a meaningful information from you, sir. Thank you so much. Next, I would like to thank to the management team and the principals of both BLDA's College Jamkhandi and Jagadamba Arts and Science College, Hitnali, on behalf of the Computer Science Department and DCA Department of our college. Next, I would like to thank all the staff members who made effort to run this webinar smoothly. Lastly, I would like to thank to all the joinees who attended this webinar. Thank you. Thank you one and all.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
I appreciate
Thank
your
you.
views. Thanks, Agwin, for joining us today, and we will see you next time. Thank you all.
Thank you.